Hello everyone. This tutorial will cover two very important concepts, subs and variables. We will start with subs. Subs are also named methods or functions or subroutines. In B4X, we just name them subs. All of our code is organized in subs. Let's start with a very simple example. Okay, so we've declared a new sub. Its name is sum. It expects two parameters, x and y, and it returns an int value. We will log the parameters and return the sum. Let's run our program, and it doesn't print anything because we didn't call our new sub. And we will run it again, and you can see in the logs that we successfully calculated the sum of the two parameters. Subs can call other subs. Subs can call themselves. This is named recursive subs. Subs can return values, as we saw in this example. When an event is raised, it calls a sub. Let's see an example. We will create a timer. We will set the event name to timer1 and the interval to 1000 milliseconds and enable it. Now we will declare the event sub. The IDE helps us. It is named tick. And this sub will be called every 1 second. Because if it is a non-UI project, we must explicitly start a message loop for it to work. This is less important for now. And you can see the output here. Okay. Our next topic is variables. There are already a few variables in this code. So a variable is a placeholder. We can see it over here. We declared a variable named result. The type was set to int, and we already assigned a value to this variable. We can use this variable. We can assign it a new value. There are many types of variables. The most basic types are the numeric types. There are the integers, byte, short, int, and long. Floating points, float and double. String, a variable that holds a string of characters. Let's see one. we can define our own custom types, and it's very useful in real programs, and we will see it in a different tutorial. And there are many other types. A word about the data types ranges. So for example, byte is a signed byte. It can hold values from -128 to 127. Now you don't need to remember all of this. You can always go to the forum and search. And this is the data type and range. And we can see this a short list with the range of each numeric type. Next topic is variable scope. Variables can be either local variables or global variables. Let's start with global variables. Global variables are variables declared in a special sub named process globals or class globals, but this is a special sub that should only be used to declare global variables. A global variable can be accessed from all subs, and all subs access the exact same instance. Let's see an example. We'll usually won't be using dim to declare global variables, but rather we will use private or public. We will soon discuss it in the variables visibility topic. It is always preferred to use private if possible. So float variable named pi. We can use it here. And we can also use it here. We can also set it whenever we want. Let's see an example. Oops. Change it and so the output, as you can guess, will be more or less correct here and completely wrong here. By the way, you can see that a floating point variable cannot exactly hold a decimal value. There is a small error. Note that the IDE colors global variables in a different color. In this case it is purple. Now let's see some local variables. So we've declared 3 local variables. Although their name is the same, there isn't any relation between them. And changing a local variable in one sub will not affect any other local variable in any other sub. The local variable life cycle begins when the sub starts and ends together with the sub. As a general rule, you should try to use as few as possible global variables. This way you can limit your program state and make it easier to maintain and to understand what happens, and if you can use a local variable instead of a global variable, then it is better. Our next topic is subs and variables visibility. We'll start with subs. A sub can be either private or public. If it is a private sub, it can only be called from the current module. Let's see an example. First we will add another module. Now we will add a private sub. So instead of writing, we will add the private modifier. and a public sub. And a sub without any modifier. So we can call all three subs from this module. As you can see, they are all listed here. However, back to our main module, only example 2 and example 3 are listed. We cannot call example 1. Now, as you can see, a sub without a visible modifier is considered a public sub, but there is a warning here. It tells us that this sub is not used. It doesn't give us the same warning for example 2 because the compiler knows that you intended to make it a public sub, so it assumes that you will call it from another module at some point, or maybe you intend to compile it as a library. As a general rule, it is better to always set the sub visibility. Now to variables. Local variables are always private because they can only be called from the current sub. Global variables can be either public or private. Instead of declaring the variable with dim, we will use either private or public. Both of these variables can be used from the current module. However, back to the main module, only y is listed because only this variable is a global variable. Again, you shouldn't use dim in the global subs. You should either use private or public, and if you can, always prefer to make your variables private variables. Exposing a public variable means that you have less control over the module state, and it means that your program is more complicated. Just a small tip, you can use comments above the subs to document them. And you can see it over here. That's it for this tutorial. You are more than welcome to join our forum and ask any question you have over there.